Episode 43H Liberia sit-ins versus logging companies, and a long game towards solar power using cookstoves in Zimbabwe. Nasha noted that Liberian communities affected by logging have staged a sit-in protest in front of the country's Ministry of Finance, demanding unpaid royalties. The forest communities are considering other actions to claim the full 30% they are owed by law, including a petition to the president and staging another sit-in at the Forest and Climate Resilience Forum taking place in Monrovia on October 5 and 6. Liberian forest communities were supposed to get a cut of logging fees. They say they got a sliver. In 2006, the National Benefit Sharing Trust, NBFT, was established to coordinate the collection and distribution of this logging money to communities. But the government has not honored its commitments, say the villagers, represented by the National Union of Community Forestry Development Committees, NUCFDC. In a press release, the NUCFDC said that in 2021, the government paid out only $200,000. By the union's calculations, the state owes communities $5.5 million from fees collected from logging companies between 2009 and 2019. The NUCFDC said more than $2.7 million in rental fees were allocated to communities in the national budget for 2022, but the trust created to disperse the money received only $100,000. It's unfortunate and does not represent the aims of the anti-poverty program put in place by the authorities, said the president of the NUCFDC, and it doesn't match the ambition of the government to support development and prosperity. Nasha noted that, in Zimbabwe, energy-efficient wood stoves and regenerative woodlots are a first stage in a non-governmental organization's long-term vision to help Bite-Bridge communities move away from firewood to alternatives like solar power. Nasha noted that a Zimbabwean NGO says the energy-efficient wood stoves, imported from Kenya, use 70% less wood than open fires, channeling heat from burning twigs and small sticks through the center of the stoves to reduce cooking time. Nasha also noted that, in southern Zimbabwe, cookstoves and woodlots are the first step in a plan to halt deforestation. And a reforestation initiative experiments with providing Zimbabwean farmers seeds from indigenous trees rather than seedlings. Can cookstoves and woodlots halt deforestation in southern Zimbabwe? In Bite-Bridge, Zimbabwe, conservation non-governmental organization NGO, Rangelands Regeneration says it plans to reach 4,000 households in southern Zimbabwe with fuel-efficient wood-burning stoves, part of a bigger project to protect forests in Bite-Bridge district. Firewood collection is rampant in Bite-Bridge West, says the chief executive of Rangelands Regeneration, RR. Commercial loggers harvest timber in the district and carry it away on 5-ton trucks for resale to residents in the border town of Bite-Bridge. Demand for firewood is also high among locals who spend a lot of time searching for it, buying it from wood merchants, or hiring carts to collect it from elsewhere. The NGO says the stoves, imported from Kenya, use 70% less wood than open fires, channeling heat from burning twigs and small sticks through the center of the stoves to reduce cooking time. Rangelands Regeneration is distributing stoves as part of a long-term plan to help Bite-Bridge communities move away from relying on firewood. So far, around 3,000 stoves have been distributed in 3 administrative wards in Bite-Bridge West District. The Forestry Commission of Zimbabwe, the government body that oversees forests, and the country's Environmental Management Agency are helping with coordination and technical support for the project. A local NGO, My Trees Trust, MTT, is supplying and helping to distribute the cookstoves. Alongside stoves to reduce pressure on forests for firewood, RR is backing the creation of woodlots aimed at increasing a sustainable supply of firewood. Starting in December, at least 6,000 tree seedlings will be distributed to 10 volunteers in each of 3 areas in the district. The volunteers will be paid a stipend over 3 years to establish and manage woodlots of purple pod Terminalia, Terminalia prunioides, and other indigenous species. The MTT representative says tree species were selected based on what burns best. In 3 years' time, he says, the woodlots will be established. It is up to the households at this point as to whether they want to harvest the trees. The stoves and the woodlots are a first stage in ours long-term vision to help Bitebridge communities move away from firewood to alternatives like solar power. R will also encourage the uptake of small-scale solar, clean cooking and other energy products using financing schemes that lower the barriers to acquire them. There are some very interesting pay-as-you-go models from around the world that we think would have applicability in addressing energy needs, and we are exploring these and their applicability to the local context, the representative of MTT says. Meanwhile, My Trees Trust says it plans to distribute millions of indigenous tree seeds to encourage small-scale farmers to plant them. In addition, MTT will plant 320,000 seedlings in the next phase of its ambitious reforestation strategy. Reforestation efforts have typically relied on planting seedlings. Distributing seed packs is an experiment. My Trees Trust, MTT, set up in 2019, estimates the cost of putting a seedling in a farmer's hands at $2.50 per tree, and the cost of distributing a seed via a seed pack at less than a cent. The seed pack distribution venture is a gamble on farmers' willingness to read the instructions and correctly germinate the seeds. The hope is that they will plant them along field contours and around field margins and homesteads. An MTT co-founder says the seeds will be distributed in packs of around 1,000 seeds that include 5 species of acacia and 2 species of bauhinia. These are considered pioneer trees, he says. When you see farmland that's regenerating naturally, these are the species that come back first. Zimbabwean farmers spend the whole of their lives planting, monitoring the seasons, and dealing with the depreciating quality of soil, and MTT is betting that planting an extra pack of seeds won't be too much of a stretch. It's a very cheap way of getting trees in the ground, the MTT representative says. Deforestation is accelerating in Zimbabwe, and the country is losing much of its brachystegia, or musasa woodlands to farmers who need firewood to cure tobacco in wood-fired barns, or as household fuel. The trust will carry out a survey in February to assess the effectiveness of the distribution program. Ishan noted that a new study in China found that PM 2.5 is linked to stroke. Mary noted that wood burning emits more CO2 than coal burning. Mary calculated the CO2 emissions of natural gas burning are, at most, around half of the CO2 that coal emits. Mary also did a calculation from the chart from Families for Clean Air, which compared the weight of PM 2.5 emitted annually. The weights were 1/6 of a pound for natural gas, 27 pounds for a wood pellet stove, 97 pounds for a certified wood stove and 244 pounds for an uncertified wood stove. Also, the natural gas weights would not increase over time, but wood burning emissions might very well increase over time, as wood stoves aged or were not maintained under laboratory conditions. Given the weights from the Families for Clean Air chart, a wood pellet stove emits 16,200 times more PM 2.5 than a natural gas furnace. A certified wood stove emits 58,200 times more PM 2.5 than a natural gas furnace, and an uncertified wood stove emits 146,400 times more PM 2.5 than a natural gas furnace. Mary noted that the focus of residents against wood smoke emission particulates, ROSEP, is on the health effects to near neighbors of living next to residential wood burning, in those hyper-localized areas where the source of particulate pollution, PM 2.5, is concentrated. PM 2.5, particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, is the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, causing a cascade of human health problems. Wood smoke consists of 90% PM 2.5. Residential PM 2.5 monitors can be purchased by neighbors from Purple Air for less than $300, and their locations are put on the online Purple Air map, along with data uploaded every 10 minutes, available to the general public, and of course, to governmental authorities. Neighbors of residential wood burners would like their Purple Air PM 2.5 monitor data to be used to regulate and shut down residential wood burning detected at neighbors' fence lines that exceeds the World Health Organization, WHO, standards of 5 micrograms per meter cubed or future U.S. standards of 8 micrograms per meter cubed. There could even be court-ordered monitoring using a neighbor-owned Purple Air PM 2.5 monitor as a breathalyzer, similar to car breathalyzers court-ordered for repeat drunk drivers, to turn off the ignition of a neighboring indoor wood stove when levels of PM2.5 in a near neighbor's yard is exceeded. In this way, governmental authorities would not have to check the make and model of an appliance and would not have to rely on unreliable certification and other worthless assurances of levels of wood stove particulate emissions by the company that manufactured the wood stove. Purple Air monitors also provide data every 10 minutes 24 hours a day, and data can be downloaded from the map by governmental authorities the day after the PM2.5 levels are exceeded, during normal government working hours. Purple Air PM2.5 monitors are so reliable and accurate they are put on U.S. Air Now smoke and fire maps alongside $100,000 Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, monitors, correlated to the EPA monitors with a simple mathematical formula. But to publicize this, it is necessary to point out that living hyper-localized next to a residential wood burner is essentially the same as living hyper-localized next to any kind of PM2.5 emitting wood burning appliance, next to a PM2.5 emitting wood burning wildfire, or next to a PM2.5 emitting industrial biomass wood burning facility.